Hello everyone, welcome back to our Bible School for online. For today's topic, this is series number 2 of what we have started on the art of preaching, or we call that homilitics. And as what I have mentioned during my introduction, that we need to consider the do's and don'ts, and this topic is exclusively for the do's and don'ts. There are many do's and don'ts of sermon delivery or using in standing in the pulpit, especially in the actuation, but I didn't write the actuation. I have written five areas. Of course, when I say the do's, the opposite of it is the don'ts, or vice versa. So, this one is very common. The right choice of words or the use of words is very important when you deliver a sermon. You have to be careful of the words that you are using, or especially, of course, it depends upon on the tribe. It depends upon on the how you deliver it, the intonation pattern based on the delivery. So you have to be careful of. But this is just a caution that example you mentioned this. But this is not. By the way, this is not a bad word. But every time your intonation is a negative one and then mention this the word fat, because there are people skinny wanted to be fat, a little bit fat, so somehow your sermon is being blocked by their negative attention or reactions or response. That's why you have to be careful. I'm not saying you do not. What I'm saying is be cautious of the words. Curly hair, for example, because there are people who have curly hair wanted to have a straight hair, and it takes a lot of money for to have a straight hair. I mean, what I'm just saying, these are not bad words, but you have to be careful on your delivery by using your words. You have good choice of words. Limpy one, and some other words that has a negative impact. What if there are people in your congregation, in your audience, listening, and his weakness is he's drugged with that kind of weakness or disabilities, and by the time you mention that, especially in the negative delivery, then definitely the sermon has lost in its impact to him or her personally. That's why the right choice of words. I'm not saying again that that is bad, do not, but what I'm saying is be careful and be cautious of using negative words. The right motive in preaching. I said the right motive in preaching, it is not to glorify ourselves that we are good. Being people in the pulpit, being people in the platform, in the rostrum, we need to consider that it is not us to be considered as people who entertain them. Our duty is just the mouthpiece of the Bible, the mouthpiece of God. So I think the best motive in delivering the sermon is the humility, and you have to consider that your flesh will not be glorified. It's God to be glorified in your delivery, regardless of how eloquent you are, how wise, how smart you are in your career. Do not consider that it is your message. It is God's message. You're just a mouthpiece of it, of God. And the right attitude in preaching, because there are preachers sometimes, because there are people who wanted to deliver a sermon on personal basis. So our attitude, it must be an attitude of based on the need of the people. We call that need-based sermon. Need-based sermon. I think this is the hardship. This is the hard points when you prepare a sermon. I've been preparing sermons, as I've told you, for more than 30 years already. And the hard part, it's very easy for me to prepare a sermon, especially when we come to the right, the other one, sermon preparation. I can. 15 minutes, I can. But the need-based sermon is very hard because you have to consider what's the situation, the political situation, the spiritual situation of your audience or your congregation or the member of your church. You have to consider all the possibilities. If I preach this, maybe this one will be affected or the other one is. So you have to consider, we call that need-based. And if it is the need of the time, then our attitude, it should not be a pointing fingers attitude. So what I'm saying is that it must be present the sermon based on the intention of the gospel, based on the intention of the Bible. It's not your own intention. Alright? So another one is the claim to be a good speaker. Because there are people, especially I admit that I have experienced it during my younger days as a pastor, as a preacher. Because every time I preach, I said, oh, how, what's your comment on my preaching? How do my preaching good? Is my voice is good? But it should not be like that because we're just people, as what I've said, mouthpiece of God. So do not claim whatever good and do not look for a good comment, good critics for you. And I prefer to have a negative, what I said, that constructive criticism rather than appreciation. Because it is not us, it is God's word. It is not us to be found. That's why you have to claim yourself that you are just a mouthpiece. And that's the right claim. Do not claim that because I studied a lot, because I read a lot, because I have this PhD, I have this DDD, I have this DHD. No, do not do that. The disciples were just simple people. Of course, there were people who have their position, like Matthew, Apostle Paul, and maybe Luke. But many of them were just a simple, ordinary people. So do not consider yourself as this, while the message of the Lord is plainly this. What I'm saying is that do not invoke your degree, your education, your eloquentness, your wisdom, how smart you are. So the right claim is just maybe after your sermon, the question or the delivery you need to consider that, Lord, did I deliver the message according to your purpose? Or are the people's hearts are open? Or did the words of yours, God, penetrated to the heart of the people? That is our kind of attitude. Not because we are good. I hope you have this time. The last thing is that there are many yes, but I've only written 5. The right time frame of a sermon. Well, it depends upon the situation. Birthday party, you deliver a sermon exhortation. Funeral party, you deliver a sermon. Regular Sunday or Saturday or whatever days you worship. Depends, but if I may consider it in regular ecclesiastical duties of ours during Sunday worships or Saturday worship, Friday worship, morning services, the ideal one, in the Philippines, when I'm talking to the Philippines, 25 minutes at most, 15 to 25 minutes sermon. So that's the right frame. Why? Because the people will not get sleepy, people will still be attentive and not so, I mean, they're not, they can comprehend at that delivery. But of course we consider that there are people who preaches about an hour, 2 hours, it depends upon. But what I'm saying is that consider the sermon. When we come across to the sermon preparation, you will know and you will understand why I have this 25 minutes at most sermon. At most sermon. So that's it for today, and that's it for our presentation, the do's and don'ts. There are many. Of course, the opposite of this, the opposite of those is the don'ts and vice versa. Please subscribe to my channel so that you'll be notified and click the bell so that you'll be notified on my next videos. God bless and shalom everyone.